It's going to be a very bombastic conclusion to the series. I think that's what we promised when we were here 2 years ago at Gamescom and were asking for money to actually complete the series. A very bombastic end to this long trilogy of adventure gaming, and with the help from the people on Kickstarter, thanks guys, we are now actually ready with the game, and we were supposed to launch it this Friday, but it would collide with the Adventure Trap party, so we moved it up to September. So now we're here to promote it to you guys, and on September 21st you're going to have the whole conclusion of this pretty epic saga. So it's going to be a good ending. It's going to be pretty epic.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we like what he said, bombastic. It has been like a holy grail for us, the word bombastic. We always made sure, whenever we were designing, thinking about how we're going to write this, how we're going to design this, which choice is more bombastic? That one or that one? That one's more bombastic. Let's do that. We put that into the game. That has been like a mantra for us.
Talking about a big game, which with many years of development, what were the biggest challenges of that development phase?
Running out of money sometimes, and
That's a classic.
And keeping the team together when we're not working synchronized, and then try to synchronize everyone to work efficiently together has been a challenge. But I think we kind of learned that, because it's been so many years now of working together, Theo, Henrik and I, to kind of figure out how we can get the team working in an efficient manner. But that has been a challenge that's been ongoing. How can we work 3 people making this pretty ambitious project? Because everyone needs to work at 100% at what they're doing. So I'm doing the programming and scripting. Theo does the environments and some characters, and Henrik does most of the character animations. And if our pipeline is not working 100%, and if not every one of us is working 100%, the game is never going to be finished. So to me, I think one of the biggest challenges is getting the 3 core people here with SkyGoblin to do their thing together and not fuck anything up, basically.
Well, I can only agree. We try to work a lot with we try to make sure that we're always dependent on each other. I always make sure that I need something from him, and he makes sure he needs something from me, and then Henrik needs something from us. So we're always, making sure it's got to move, and that has really helped. It's taken us a long time to get that process working, but like he said, now after all these years, we got a very smooth. And also you learn to finally, you're respecting each other's opinions, and you realize if he's passionate about something, or if Henrik really, he says, no, I want it to be this way, then I understand that, no, but he has a good reason for this. I respect that. And it helps that we're 3, because democracy is a lot easier if you're not 4, you're 3, and there's never a stalemate really.
There's always someone who is wrong.
Yeah,
if you're 3, you can okay, if we agree with something that guy is wrong, no matter how right he is, he's still wrong because we decided.
Because we just steamroll forward, and that's so important. Never getting stuck. It's so important. If you're at a crossroads, you don't know which way to go. Fuck it, go one way. Go. Just keep on going. We've learned that.
And we learned that when working with consultants, because we have a lot of people who are pitching in, voice actors, musicians, and sound effects guys, and we have some animation, we have some programming. It's a little bit outside of our team, and it's so much easier for things to get in a stalemate when you're waiting for someone who's not in the office, because you're he or she was supposed to deliver something yesterday, and I can't do anything until I get that. But when we're working the core team, you can always come on, give it to me, man. You're holding up the process, So trying to get everyone and all the pieces to work together fluently has been something that's been taking a lot of time to get put together. And as a rule of thumb, the more people you are in a project, the harder it is. And that's why I'm really impressed by the really big teams that you can see around here on Gamescom, 200 people in a project.
How do they not kill each other, right? How do they not murder each other?
How do they get anything done? Yeah. It's always someone waiting for someone and not getting their shit. So that's kind of impressive. I have no idea how to do that.
Very fascinating.
Yeah.
What influenced you, or what kind of, besides adventure games? Is there any influence in movies or books? Or?
Well, for Chapter 3 of the Journey Down, it has been for some reason, I don't know why, we just decided to. We decided to go for a very 80s, 90s action movie type ambiance. So there's a lot of like Lethal Weapon, Die Hard, Beverly Hills Cop type, like both the soundtrack and visually, we try to have that kind of imagery. Like you'd see the cop cars look like cop cars out of an 80s action movie. They when they skid, they got you can even see the suspension is like, I'm doing my best to capture the sound. We don't want the siren to sound like a siren from a modern police car. It sounds like siren from a cop car from New York City in the 80s. And yeah, that's been a very big influence. And also, not only this 80s action movie type thing, Chapter 3 of The Journey Down spends a lot of time in the fabled Underland. And the Underland, obviously there's this African theme going through the whole thing, so naturally The Lion King has been a very, very deeply, it's always been one of my favorite animated movies. And you'll see visually that there's a lot of similarity in like maybe the lighting, a lot of the palette is probably similar. There's a lot of that mood, and that also goes into the soundtrack. There's several pieces that I'm proud to say are closely rip-offs of like what you say is music from The Lion King, and it's just, yeah, that's a very big inspiration for us.
You could also say the Indiana Jones has like this adventure type feel, like you're really in a immersive environment, swinging through different dangerous places, looking for artifacts and whatever.
Yeah, and the never stopping philosophy. The Indiana Jones always moves forward. Like there's always more adventure around the corner. There's something new. You fall down a thing. You ride on a horse. You jump down the cliff, and it's like it just bam, 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 bam.
And it goes kind of well hand in hand with the 80s, 90s kind of VHS blockbuster movie kind of feel that we want to have this chapter, which feels like a good way of wrapping up the whole trilogy, because the first chapter was very much a backbeat reggae kind of styled influence setting, and the second chapter had the noir Humphrey Bogart type of private eye setting, and the third chapter, I don't know if there's a good reason for it more than we like it, and you decided, well, we're gonna have like Lethal Weapon, we're gonna have Die Hard, we're gonna have saxophones and electric guitars. So like,
well, everything with The Journey Down has always been like, what do we want to do? What do we feel like doing? What do we right now feel is going to be really fun to produce? What do I want to draw? What do I want to design? What do I want to write? And we do that, and that's why it turns out great, I think. I mean, really, frankly, that's why it's awesome. If we had ideas forced upon us, we'd push out something bland, but now that the whole design has been based off of what we want to do.
I would even say whether it's a design that's forced upon us from outside, if there's another company telling us what to do, or if it's forced upon us by ourselves, would take away the creativity. So we decided early on that we're not going to design the whole trilogy at the one time. We're going to design each chapter and make that chapter, and then we're going to design the next chapter. Because if you already designed the whole thing, then you just have chores. You just have to fill in whatever you designed, and the design phase is a lot of fun. So we decided that let's not design everything from the start. Let's do it one piece at a time, so we can have the creativity going for the whole project. Also,
we'd be designing the game for like 6 years before we do anything.
Yeah, talking about all three games, your projects tend to get bigger. The last chapter, the third chapter, how long does it gonna be? How long does it take to play through?
Judging from the testing that we've been doing, it's around 4 or 5 hours.
What I like to add is, like, we were hoping that it would actually be, honestly, more hours in gameplay. But what we've done is, what I mentioned before, is we're introducing so many new environments all the time. So you really, after you finish the game, you really feel you've had a full palette, because there's so much going on in there. So we're not rehashing environments like we did in Chapter 2. We're constantly moving forward. And keeping at a high pace too. We don't want, The Journey Down has never been a difficult adventure game, and it's not supposed to be a difficult adventure game. It's supposed to be an extremely fun adventure game. And for me, like for us as designers, when someone turns off the game in frustration, or they start looking at their cell phone instead of focusing on the game, we see it as a very serious failure, because that has broken the immersion. We want them to be exactly as frustrated as is okay, and they'll still keep on playing. That's resulted in a fairly, well, not an extremely challenging game, which means it moves pretty fast.
No, we streamline it, and when we test it, we make sure that people get stuck a little bit here and there on different things depending on who's playing it, so people don't get stuck on the same puzzle, but people get stuck a little bit, but not enough to get tired of the game, not enough to turn off the game or just resolve to a walkthrough. You should be able to play through the game. If you sit through a couple of hours, you should be able to play it through. So it's sort of streamlined like that. And like Theo said, with the chapter 3, we decided to have an approach where we want to cover a lot of ground. We want to make sure that it's a journey where you go through different environments and through different plots, elements, and not just stay in Kingsport Bay or stay in Port Arthur or stay in only Saint Armando or stay in a single place, but it's a journey, so you need to be able to go from place to place and keep on traversing this universe, because we want to make sure that it actually feels like you get to see the Underland, you get to see all the places that we've been talking about. So in that sense, it's a game that you can it's a big game, it's a really big game. It took us 3 years to make it compared to 2 years for each of the other chapters.
We've talked about funding before. You've said one of the challenges was that money runs out. So where do you get your funding? Because Kickstarter didn't suffice.
No, we burned that money pretty quickly, but it was so nice.
It was bound to happen, was it not?
Yeah, we knew that. We pretended that we didn't.
Pretty naive if you backed the game. You didn't think we were going to spend all the money. So.
But we spent it on good things, though, so I'm pretty happy with that. And by the time we ran out of that money, we realized, okay, how are we going to do this? Because we didn't want to cut anything from the game. Like, should we make it shorter? Should we remove this stuff? And nope. So it'll just, we're going to hope that something comes up and that we just get money from somewhere, and it did, because after a while we just got in contact with Humble Bundle. Well, interested in, do you want to bundle your games with us? So we were on a campaign and put the chapter 1 and chapter 2 in a Humble Bundle, and it's just magic money from the sky. We didn't even...
No, really, it was really a lifesaver, and that's what happens to our company all the time. We're so close to just crashing. We're right here with immense momentum going deep down like this, and then suddenly, okay.
It's happened at least 4 or 5 times throughout these 12 years that we're just on the brink of bankruptcy, and just there's money.
So apparently it's okay to just
yeah.
It's always going to work.
And now that's kind of part of the philosophy that it doesn't matter how smart or strategic you are, you still need fucking luck. So don't overthink it. Just have fun and hope for the best.
Yeah.
You're into the last steps of the game. What's still left? What are you doing now?
I'm not doing so much. I just have teeny things, because I'm doing the programming and that's almost in place. He's doing, what do you have left to do? You need to recolor the crystals, they should be pink instead of yellow.
It's just nitpicking, really. Most of the game is very much in place. It's a couple sprite fixing, a couple new voice recordings, a couple new, probably some minor spelling issues. It's just a kind of cleaning up the small specks of, and some brightness contrast issues.
But mostly it's Henrik, our third colleague, who's out there some way. He has a shit ton of work.
That's why he's not here in front of the camera. He's probably lying somewhere on the floor crying right now.
Yeah, because he's doing the cutscenes and he's doing character animation, and we still have a lot of that stuff to do. It's doable, but it's going to be pretty hard for him. So he has a lot to do to make sure the cutscenes are all, ready for production. It should be all done.
Launch. Yeah.
What is next for SkyGoblin?
Yeah, I don't think we have a real clear idea. I think we're just gonna vacation. What do you think?
Yeah, I think first of all we need a little bit of rest. So yeah, we're gonna have a short vacation, and then obviously we need to honor all our Kickstarter rewards. That's a top priority. I'm happy to say we still have money for that. We have not spent all that money, so that's going to be top priority. And also we're going to be working on the PlayStation and Xbox port, which we're not doing ourselves. We're doing it with a studio called Blitworks in Barcelona. So that's going to work out great, I think. But after that, what happens after that, Mattias? You want to answer me?
Well, we have a whole bunch of ideas. We want to try and do something new that we haven't done before, some type of game, in some genre that we haven't tried before. And we have 5-10 different ideas that we all want to do, but we haven't made a decision, because I think we need to kind of think it through and maybe do some game jamming. I think we're going to do some game jams.
We need to just fool around for a while. We need to just experiment and play around. I absolutely want to continue doing narrative games. I love doing story-driven things. I love writing things. I love drawing that kind of immersive environments and stuff like that. We're absolutely going to do more of that. But maybe not immediately. Maybe immediately we do something completely different, just for a healthy, fun change. The problem is not going to be having good ideas, because the good ideas are like piling up and coming out of our ears. There's plenty of that. So
the problem is going to be not having the whole project balloon out.
yeah, that's definitely going to be the problem. It's gonna be another 10-year.
That's exactly what's going to happen, because every project that we've done, we're like, okay, this time we need to keep it small, we need to keep it focused, we need to make it doable, and every time it just and it turns into like a 3-year project. So we're gonna try to keep the scope down for at least one project and make a small project, but in all honesty, it's probably more likely going to be a big project.
Yeah, it's going to be huge, and we'll be 10 years from now.
Yeah,
we'll
we're going to go like this, and then something going to happen. Like, oh. So that's the plan.
Thanks for the interview. It was great fun.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And thank you very much, everyone on the internet and everyone who's supporting us, and especially everyone on Kickstarter. It's been really amazing.
You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
Love you.